Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, we talk about how mastering a skill or a certain level of a skill helps it lose its magic. You know how it's made, but somehow a new magic is born. Hope you enjoy. Hey, James.
Yes. I'm awake.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm down in the solarium and oxygen bar of the Gifted Underachievers clubhouse, kind of trying to get refreshed. Got a little bit of a cold working.
Yeah. I see that, it feels like your toque has become part of your actual head.
Yeah, my toque, I want to teach it to wave.
Oh, that's a cute idea.
That would be fun. But yes, I've got this fun Canadian toque that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. And the magic of it is
Magic.
spectacular.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but that's what I wanted. I was thinking as I was down here, absorbing oxygen and solariumness, about magic.
Magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I actually, there's an idea behind all this. So I've been reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, an inquiry into values by Robert M. Persig, which I assume you've heard of. I mean, it's one of these books that I think is one of those ones that everybody's pretty much familiar with.
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
Well, I highly recommend it. It's good stuff. But there's this part in my copy, it's page 83. Bottom of 83 goes to the top of 84. And I'm just going to read it really quick. It's not too long.
Yeah.
He writes, when analytic thought is applied to experience, something is always killed in the process. That is fairly well understood, at least in the arts. Mark Twain's experience comes to mind, in which, after he had mastered the analytic knowledge needed to pilot the Mississippi River, he discovered the river had lost its beauty. Something is always killed. But what is less noticed in the arts, something is always created too. And instead of just dwelling on what is killed, it's important also to see what's created and to see the process as a kind of death, birth, continuity that is neither good nor bad, but just is.
Wow.
Yeah. No, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. And the thought sort of that I summed up here is that as creatives, when we master some act or aspect or skill of the creative process or creativity in general, it loses its magic because now we understand it. But at the same time, a new magic is born from the first death of magic, because we're constantly driving forward. So one of the examples that I have, when I look at a painting, so I'm the worst drawer, painter. Like, I do not have the hand-eye coordination or the understanding of how to render anything that looks like what I want it to look like. And so when I look at a painting or a sketch or anything like that, I'm just blown away by it. It's like magic to me, right?
Yeah.
And when I was learning to play guitar, when I first started, the entire thing of watching somebody play a guitar looked like magic in a way, because how are they getting their fingers to do that? How are they coordinating between the two hands? How are they remembering the chords and the notes to play the song? How are they doing all of this stuff? And as I first picked up a guitar and learned my first chords, and then how to put those chords together, and then how to do all these kinds of things, I was killing that magic. It was a process of killing the magic because I started to understand where it comes from. Yeah. But as I did that, even bigger, more powerful, incredible sort of magic and skills are born. And one of the things that I think of is the ability and the thrill of being able to improvise on a guitar in a way that is musically sentient, right? It's not just a bunch of random notes. It actually has melody, and it drives, the experience of the list, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you can't get to that improvisational level until you've killed a lot of magic.
Yeah. That's a good one. I love that.
And yeah, and so I think, maybe struggling a little bit for what is the higher purpose of this, but maybe it's just a recognition that as creatives, we get very used to in a good way. This is like a good thing for us to do, of seeing something as almost mystical. How do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do I capture that?
Yeah.
And doing it and taking it from, again, like this mystical or magical kind of experience, and making it almost mundane because we now have the understanding and we're able to do it on a consistent basis without much effort.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That I just think that's very well, very true. And I'm thinking about so a couple of things. When somebody's mastering a skill that's performative in the end, like playing music, it's not just the technical skill that it's like that's the ground level, and then that's what you need to be even able to uh, sort of like think about being able to improvise in a live performance with the skill level being underscoring or supporting your your kind of credibility or whatever your ability to move people and to entertain them or whatever you're doing with your music requires that basic underpinning of huge amounts of skill. And I love that what you said about to be able to improvise in a way that's musically sentient. That's a very good way to put it. And now I'm thinking also of an observation to do with writing for me, which is that I have spent the last 15 years professionally taking apart writing. Basically, just that's what I do. I analyze it, I reflect back to the writer what's working and what needs work. And so I work in it. I work so deeply in that field that what I've found is that my skill level is much higher. Even and then when I do this kind of improvisational type of writing, where I shut myself in a place for 3 days and just write a novella in that period, I can rely on that skill set being available because it's in my pores, basically. It's in my cells. And then I have another thought, which is what you said about when you see art, you're like, well, I'm physically uncoordinated, or I don't have that kind of ability. And it made me think of that first period when you see something that, just kind of, it lights you up in terms of what it does for you, like seeing great art. However, you also, in a way, there might be that separation of yourself from being able to do that. So there's a difference between the novice with talent who goes, I see that and it moves me, and I want to learn how to do that. And the novice with maybe not no talent, but an underlying recognition that that's not their field. And just says, I see that, it moves me. I don't need to learn how to do that. And so I think the professionals in any creative industry are the ones who have been in the first one where they have that. Because novices can't really write. It's very rare for a novice to write a killer good book, but because they just don't have the prose skills yet. But there is that kind of direction from your own view on that creative field is like, I can learn how to do that, or you don't even think about that. You're like, because I would never be an actor, right? I can't learn how to do that. I just don't feel that I want to learn how to do it. So that's a really rich idea, what you're talking about.
Well, and I think part of it is there's some magic or mysticism or whatever that you want to preserve, right?
Yeah.
If you know, and obviously not that you would know how to do everything like an expert, but if you know how everything works, when I go to the museum down in Boston and I see, everything from Pollock to, Wyeth and on, it's amazing to me because I have no conception
Yeah.
of how it's done. And yet here I am looking at something that evokes this entire experience and emotion and reaction. And it's nice. It's nice to be there not thinking about, whereas if I go see music, mostly, I mean, I'm not sitting there being totally judgmental, but I'm thinking like the last bit of music I went to, they had a little break in between it, and I went up and asked one of the guitar players. I said, how are you tuning your guitar? And she goes,
Yeah.
oh, dad. And I was like, oh, dad cat. I love dad cat, and it was kind of like, James, shut up,
Yeah.
just appreciate the music
Yeah.
and stop trying to analyze it and figure it out,
Totally.
just appreciate what they're doing.
Totally. Yeah, I think so too. There's this element where preserving the magic of your encounter with something you have no idea how it's done. Um, that's really, really important. That's kind of fodder for your own creative field, whatever it is. Just seeing how it can exist in the world, and you don't need to know anything about it. You can appreciate it, as an appreciator. I don't even like the
Yeah.
word consumer because you're not consuming it necessarily, you're appreciating it.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me too of watching this documentary on Jimi Hendrix,
Um,
and there, he was kind of bubbling up, and all these really famous at the time guitarists who were considered, the best, were hearing about him, and people are saying he's playing at this club. You got to go check this guy out.
hmm,
And it happened. Maybe not all of them showed up on the exact same night, but a bunch of them did go.
yeah.
And Hendrix is doing his thing, and then they cut in this documentary to one of these guitar players, and he says, "Yeah, after seeing that, you kind of had to think maybe it was time to quit."
Wow.
And it was that powerful. But that the point being is that when you come across somebody who's doing what you do,
Yeah.
and you're considered, I hate to say expert or whatever, but you're competent at it, and they just blow you away
Yeah.
with skill.
Yeah.
And they're doing something completely different and new, and just your jaw drops because I know what this person's doing, but I don't know how they're doing it, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
That's
I mean,
magic
that's
too.
pretty powerful.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it's great that you can have that lens on the rest of the whether it's your creative field or one you're not operating in, you can have that lens on just where the magic is for you. Is it as a novice appreciator who doesn't need to learn how to do that thing you're admiring so much or, getting so much
Mhm.
out of it? Or is it as somebody who knows a little bit about the craft or a lot about the craft and can see just how much skill that person has and how much talent or like new take on things they have that is allowing them to transcend where you're at and where a lot of the stuff you've been
Mhm.
seeing is at by leaps, not just a little bit but
Mhm.
by absolute leaps to the point where you're thinking, should I even be doing this anymore?" um,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really healthy if you can get out of your own ego, like the person, because there's room for everybody, right? So
Yeah.
but it's an interesting observation that there are these people who are just incredible and
Yeah. Every
yeah.
now and again, somebody comes out who's
Hmm.
just completely new and has this way about it, and blows everybody away.
Yeah, and like there's Slash too. There's a documentary on that guitarist who was with Guns N' Roses, and he's been in a bunch of Velvet
Mhm.
Revolver or something. And man, did I get an understanding of how obsessed somebody has to be with the guitar in order to
Yeah.
play at a really high level. I mean, obsessed, like it never leaves
Yeah.
their hand. And
Never leave. Yeah, you don't ever stop playing, and you're
yeah,
constantly, yeah.
yeah. So more
Yeah,
power to
it's
them.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so what is the takeaway here? And I'm thinking that, as creatives, and part of our creative process is the willingness to go after these things.
Yeah.
And when you see something that knocks you off your feet because it's so good and you think I couldn't possibly do that, is exactly when you have to go. And not, again, it's not about mimicry or stealing or anything like that, but it says, okay, I need to figure this out. I need, I'm this person is showing me something that I haven't seen or experienced or felt, and I need to figure that out.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I don't think there's an imperative necessarily need. I don't think it's that black and white. I would suggest that if you have that experience where somebody blows you away and you work in that same field, the first understanding that you have is that you've had that experience, that that's actually important for
Yeah.
you. And that it matters a lot to still be able to find that level of magic in a field that you've kind of worked in for decades or maybe, or,
Mhm.
years, or know a lot, know stuff about. And then maybe take that as inspiration. So maybe that's exactly what you're saying. I need to figure this out. It's like it's a shot in the arm to see that kind of excellence and
Yeah.
go, wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah, there's still room because I
yeah.
think, I've noticed in myself that I'll hit kind of a wall, or what I think is a wall, right?
Mhm.
And it's more about plateauing, and
Right.
then I have to
Yeah, good
push,
one.
push, push, and it's really just, the a step that
Yeah.
I'm bumping into, and I need to figure out how to get up to that next step.
That's a good one.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's about that motivational quality
Yeah.
and being open. And this was something when I was younger, I was not open to at all, that anybody could be better, right?
Yeah.
Because it was almost, because I saw it as a zero sum thing, right? If somebody was
Right.
better, they're not good. And I've long, I was like 16, 17, long since recognized, no, 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 no. This is, it's a big, broad, huge universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you have a visceral reaction to work somebody is doing that's in your domain,
Yeah.
there's a certain excitement to that, I think,
Absolutely.
that we should, try to cultivate at least.
Yeah. I love that. And I like that you put it as it's a plateau, it's not a wall. It can bump you off your plateau if you've been getting maybe complacent, or not even that, just sort of not recognizing that there's still magic in it.
Mhm.
Because nobody can ever, when I think about writing, I think about the history too of the tremendous number of incredible books that went unrecognized in the writer's lifetime, and there's just so much out there that's inspiring. And so it's easier for me to get inspired by other creative domains, because I don't haven't been able to read for fun in a while. Like this last couple of years, I rarely am able to read for the pleasure of it. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful observation. Magic.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very
And-
good.
Indeed.
That's the two sick people.
Couple of sickos.
Yeah.
I've been called a sicko before.
Oh, Lord.
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.